What's happening, party people? It's been a while. Yeah, you didn't think that we were going to do the whole weekend, but this is your boy, Yellow Boy. This is Bros, Brews, and Botches. And this is the NXT Stand and Deliver post show. So, hope y'all enjoying WrestleMania weekend so far. If you didn't, please go back and watch Hogs Wars. He did a ROH Supercard of Honor 2024 post show breakdown, and it's up on our page right now. But before I get started, you know I gotta pub everything. Make sure if you don't already that you're following our social media pages. You see the link on the screen with Bros, Brews, and Botches at IG. Please follow us on Twitch. We're also on Twitch, but we ain't really been active, work stuff, life, all that good stuff. Please check out our merch with Elevated. They do our merch, so please go check that out. Um, yeah, hopefully everything's cool with my sound and everything. I don't have a producer today, so we're doing this solo dolo before the night one WrestleMania. But before I kick this show off, I have to get on my soapbox, so to speak, and talk about what I posted in X. Please, guys, do not let WrestleMania weekend be the weekend that you be jerks and wish for the failure of other promotions because WWE is up right now. Like, let's celebrate WWE and celebrate WrestleMania weekend, but let's also try to push for the other promotions if they're not your choice to do better, not to fail, because that's a lot of performers with a lot of jobs, a lot of behind the scenes people with a lot of jobs. And if we want a particular promotion to fail, then that means there's a lot of people that are going to be out of work. So let's try to strive for that healthy competition and not being destructive about it. So I know it goes on social media and it does have an effect on people's mental health. So make sure that we're, like what you like, have an opinion on what you like, but let's try not to wish for the failure or downfall of a company because they're not WWE, all right? Despite what comes out and stuff like that. If you like wrestling, then like the wrestling and celebrate the performers for the performance that they do because not everybody can do it. So that's my soapbox. But we are going to be covering really quick NXT Stand and Deliver. So the first match popped up on the pre show, funny enough, and that would be Sean Spears versus Joe Gacy. Now, Joe Gacy, during his entrance, was hit with a chair by Ridge Holland, who, if you're watching the product, know that Ridge Holland had seemingly hung it up. And then for the pre show, he was actually one of the commentators for the pre show. So he ended up just kind of stepping over and hitting Joe Gacy with a chair, injuring that back that was injured on Tuesday. But Joe Gacy limped into the ring and carried on with the match against Sean Spears, which Sean Spears tried to focus in on Joe Gacy's back. And miraculously enough, Joe Gacy was able to hit the upside down and get the win over Sean Spears, which that's a shock because he had that back issue. So we started out with the pre-show with the Joe Gacy win. Don't know where they're going to go with Joe Gacy. Don't know where they're going to go with Sean Spears, seeing as how he's just eaten two losses in a few weeks after his return to NXT. So we'll see what creative has for them. But we move into the main show. So the hosts of the show were Metaphor, and Metaphor brought us in with an intro that was very comically entertaining, where they were basically parodying the other combatants in the show. They dressed up as Tony D'Angelo and the family. They dressed up like Chase U. They were on an ambulance like Lyra Valkyria. They also were in the back dressed up as Dijak. So, and then they finally went to the barbershop where we seen a lot of vignettes with Trick Mellow Game. So, it very humorous, but that was the way to kick it off. And because I didn't post it on the Instagram results, just know throughout the show, Metaphor were popping up and trying to do interviews with some of the performers, and they would get beat up. Like Oro Mensa, he was hit with a door as he tried to interview Obafemi before his match. Noam Dar got put in a Kimura by Thea Hale as he tried to interview her for her match. So they were pretty much a good choice for the PLE. I was about to call it a pay per view for the PLE, so that they did well on that. So our first match out the gate was the tag team championship match between the champions Wolf Dogs, Braun Breaker, and Baron Corbin. And then you had the challengers, which were Nathan Fraser and Axiom. And as the Wolf Dogs came to the ring, the action just started up as both Axiom and Fraser did a plancha through the ropes or tope suicida through the ropes to just kick it off. This match was just fast paced. And I will say this as well as a note, the beginning of the show, it would seem like a lot of the performers were going extremely fast and probably had to be told in the back that they needed to slow down because there was a lot of mistakes here and there. It wasn't major botches, but people were getting to their spots too early. They were trying to, and this isn't just this tag team match. It was like the first half of the show where people were just moving so fast that they were out of place and people had to kind of compensate for their opponent being out of place and made some of the moves look a little wonky. So, but it kind of corrected itself, course corrected by the end of the show. Maybe almost a little bit too slow for the pacing, but we'll get to that when we talk about the main event. So, the tag team championship match, let's face it, the Wolf Dogs are over. They're over like Rover. And sorry for the poor pun with the dog reference there, but they were really over. The crowd really likes the Wolf Dogs. They seem to be a face team now because as they were coming out, they were, high fiving and dapping up the crowd as they were coming down. Um, and it this match, it was good. It was, like I said, with the mistakes, as I talked about earlier, with the pacing that they were doing. Like there was a moment where Braun Breaker was on the top rope to do a Frankensteiner. It's not Kalahuna Karana when he's doing it. Any Steiner, it's a Frankensteiner. So he was up to do it, but he kind of hesitated, and it was supposed to be a combination where he did the Frankensteiner, and Baron Corbin supposed to catch it and turn it into a power bomb. But just because the pacing was off, the spacing also was off. It didn't look all too great, but the effect was still there. Um, Both Nathan Fraser and Braun Breaker were doing what they do and just going with their speed, also with the power. Um, Baron Corbin also surprised by doing a splash from the top rope, which, that's uncharacteristic of Baron Corbin to do a splash from the top rope. So, um, but in the end, Corbin caught both Fraser. Well, he caught Fraser, or excuse me, he caught Axiom in the end of days, and then he was going to catch Fraser for the end of days, but kind of Fraser flipped out of it, but ran right into a Braun Breaker spear for the Wolf Dogs to retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. Where they go from here, who knows? Because Braun Breaker technically is a SmackDown superstar and he's wrestling still on NXT, but they're just too um, they're too much of a crowd favorite for them to move them right now. And I don't know of a tag team unless they get the Good Brothers into a tag team storyline who would take those belts off of them. So we move on to the next match, which is your hoss match or your big meaty men slapping meats match, if that's your kind of thing. So you had Dijak versus um, Josh Briggs versus the NXT North American champion Oba Femi, and it this was a meat slapper. Like if you like big men doing big meaty things, this is your match, and it may be the match of the night. I think it's my match of the night for this pay per view or PLE. Sorry, and these guys went all out. Number one, Dijak needs to get a title put back on him or put on him because he's doing some of the best work for NXT that he's done in some time. That's character wise and in the ring performance. He just definitely has been making the folks around him look good. It was a coming out party for Josh Briggs because he was looking good in the match. And of course, Obafemi as the champion, he he just tosses dudes around. That guy shouldn't be as strong as he is, and he is just yeeting folks around the ring. There was this one spot, and like I don't know how much Obafemi can squat, but it was it. Well, first the setup was that Dijak had Josh Briggs in a fireman's carry, and he went to the corner as if he was going to climb the ropes and do like a Samoan drop from the top rope. But then off camera, because production team does a great job now for WWE. Off camera, Obafemi gets up underneath them and basically does a squat with both men on his shoulders. And again, like I said, Dijak has Josh Briggs on his shoulders for a fireman's carry, and it just looked like a car wreck. Once Obafemi let both men down, he was going to do like an electric chair drop, but the weight just kind of was disproportionate, and he just dropped him like a Death Valley driver, and all men just kind of crumbled. So that was kind of a great spot. Um, there was a near fall where Josh Briggs, it looked like Dijak was going to win the NXT North American Championship, and Josh Briggs pulled the referee out of the ring. And in the end, um, Obafemi gets gets what gets what he wants, and that's the retention of the championship. He does a pop up power bomb to Dijak. Again, Dijak, who is like 6'8", I believe, and Obafemi 6'7". He just pops the man up like better than Kevin Owens to an extent, and does a power bomb to retain the championship. So Obafemi still the North American champion. After this match was the 6-woman tag team match between the team of JC Jane, Kiana James, Izzy Dame, and along with them was Jasmine Nix, who was still in her sling. However, she may be better off than what she seems. And they faced the babyface team of Thea Hale, Kalani Jordan, and now I'm having a brain fart. And Fallon Henley. I do not know why I didn't remember Fallon Henley. Horse Girl. That's what we call her. Horse Girl. So, um, so it was a standard 6-person tag match. You had your outside interference from Jasmine Nix. Like I said, she did a Pele kick or something to that extent on the outside to Thea Hill behind the referee's back, and I just love what Booker T said as far as what happened. He told Vic Joseph that she slipped. That was why she hit that kick. She slipped. Um, Also, I didn't even mention this at the beginning, but for the commentary team, we had Vic Joseph, Booker T, and Wade Barrett on commentary. So I guess they wanted to kind of dilute the amount of Booker T that we had speaking during the show because sometimes he can just go on a tangent and talk about randomness. But yeah, I mean, these women did extremely well. There was a lot of stuff that I was impressed with Kalani Jordan. She was doing a lot of high flying things. She did a tornado on the outside. She didn't do her split legged, but she did a moonsault to the outs from the inside to the outside from the top rope. Something Charlotte Flair esque, but a little bit better as she kipped up after she did it. There's a lot of promise in Kalani Jordan. Um, Again, there was the moment where JC Jane had no one to tag, and she was in the ring with Thea Hale, and they kind of broke out in a hockey fight for just a little bit. But not to mention that also Chase U was on the outside in support of Thea Hale. But in the end, Thea Hale was able to lock in a Kimura lock on Izzy Dame. Obviously, you want to kind of continue the rivalry between Thea Hale and JC Jane. So JC Jane didn't eat a pin or a submission. She tagged out, and Izzy Dame got locked into the Kimura lock and tapped out for the baby faces to win. Now, there is to note when the baby faces were in the ring celebrating, Chase U was around everyone, and but it was kind of like Fallon Henley was off to the side without anybody around her. And she was making some real noticeable looks up at or over at Thea Hale. So I don't know if that's going to mean that it's a heel turn per se, but there may be something about that on upcoming NXT TV. So watch out for that. So after that, there was a segment and people have been clamoring for this, so hopefully they will do it justice. Unlike the women's tag team championships, where Ava, the general manager of NXT, announced that there will be a newly crowned NXT Women's North American Champion coming soon. So they will have a mid card championship. Hopefully they do it justice. Like I said, unlike the women's tag team champions that they could have had floating around, and then they made the NXT women's tag team champions alongside those women's tag team championships that they have in the main roster, and it just kind of got colluded or just kind of got just completely kerfuffled in the whole mix, and they just yeah, reason why Naomi and Sasha Banks walked out on the company because of the um, booking decisions for those championships. So hopefully they can book the women's NXT North American Championship better than the tag titles. So there was the announcement for that. Then right after that, there was the old favorite of NXT Black and Gold, where they're looking into the crowd, and Julia of Stardom fame was out in the crowd along with the founder of Stardom, Mr. Rossi Ogawa, in the crowd along with William Regal. Um, can I get on my soapbox again, y'all? So I know it is a big deal having Julia, multiple time champion over in Japan. She's there in NXT. It was already reported that she was there. I told a few people that, don't be surprised to see her in the crowd for NXT Stand and Deliver. And there she was. But be real with yourself, wrestling fans, especially you WWE stands, NXT stands, who only watch WWE programming. You had no clue who this woman was before this week. You only heard about it and you only did it to throw shade at other people. Be better as a wrestling fan. Admit you had not seen this woman prior to, because I'm sure no one that is just a WWE stan knew who she was, seen any of her work, or followed any of her career or the career in Stardom prior to this. So be better, do better, stop acting pretentious. So she was out in the crowd, and then as they got through with showing her to the audience, we start up the match, the NXT Women's Championship match with Roxanne Perez as the challenger and Lyra Valkyria as the champion. And I love the psychology of this match. This is, I think, where the matches began to kind of slow down because they were just really fast paced at the beginning. And the psychology was that Roxanne Perez was focusing on that already injured shoulder of Lyra Valkyria. Like all of her offense was directed towards that shoulder. She did a whole lot of moves to that, and she dominated the majority of this match. Now, of course, um, there was the babyface fire up and stuff like that, but Roxanne Perez was meticulous in how she was attacking that shoulder. Also, can I mention that the brand synergy of this show, because in this match was the promotion of Fallout, the Fallout TV show that's coming to, I believe it's, isn't it Prime that it's coming out to, coming soon. Yeah, everything was donned in Fallout, like the guardrails and everything had the Fallout logo. You had the logo on the mat in front of the ring, and previously, I think it was in the previous match with the North American Championship, they were decked out in the Knuckles Peacock, Knuckles regalia with a Knuckles um, mascot in the crowd behind the commentary booth. Like, we get it. You're doing the synergy stuff. You got the Prime. Now you're doing stuff with movies and television. Awesome sauce. Don't beat us over the head with it. But I know that's where we're going. They are a company owned by Endeavor and, UFC, that kind of deal. So we're going to see more of it where the ring and everything around the ring is going to have sponsorship, and eventually it'll look exactly like a UFC octagon. So I get it, but tone it down. But anyway, with this women's championship match, you wouldn't have thought that Roxanne Perez was the heel in this match because the fans were really rooting on Roxanne. So I'm not sure if that says that Roxanne is, well, I know she's great at what she does, but does that mean that Lyra's championship has been lackluster and the fans were ready for a change? I'm not sure. But the fans were yelling for Lyra to tap. They wanted Roxanne to break her arm. They were chanting that. But there was some really cool spots. There was a gnarly DDT to the outside from Roxanne to Lyra where she did a tope suicida into a DDT that spiked Lyra. Of course, we got Tatum Paxley who came out to the ring, but what really wasn't effective at all. Um, and I love the last sequence of the match where it was a sequence of moves. It was a top rope move into, it just kind of kept floating over. I know she did that. Roxanne did the pop rocks and then floated over into a crossface. And as Lyra was trying to get to the ropes, she just, Roxanne just floated over, kicked away from the ropes, and kept her in the crossface. And that's what ultimately gave Roxanne Perez the NXT Women's Championship. So we have a new women's championship or new women's champion in NXT. I don't know where it looks like possibly that Lyra will be having some kind of ordeal with Tatum Paxley. I don't know, and I don't know who would be the next challenger for Roxanne. I think that Roxanne is ready for the main roster, but here we are with Roxanne and Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes still in NXT when I believe that they're ready to go to the next level. But this is WrestleMania weekend, and Monday is the Raw after WrestleMania, and we have some weeks after it's like their reset, and they're going to start bringing people up and bringing people in. So maybe we'll see some of those folks make more appearances on main roster television. So, but ultimately, you have Roxanne Perez as your new NXT Women's Champion, which moves us to the next match, the penultimate match of the night. or afternoon, which was the NXT championship match between the champion Ilya Dragunov and the challenger Tony D'Angelo. And Tony D'Angelo came out with the family. Um, Stacks, Rizzo, and Crucifino, they were all with him. That played dividends to an extent, and it could possibly lead to a future storyline in the match or in the show. Um, Now, with this match, just as the previous match, the champion was wounded because a couple of weeks ago on NXT, Ilya Dragunov's hand got injured. And he was really selling and playing the part of having his hand being injured, and it's the hand that he uses to chop. And he has the H bomb and the what does he call it? The Moscow bomb, or I think something to that extent, Moscow missile, or something like that. But there was a moment in the match. Well, let me back up. Tony D'Angelo did a good job of focusing attacks on the hand at certain spots. Tony D'Angelo also showed that he can really wrestle alongside any name in NXT right now, because he was giving Ilya a run for his money as he was doing suplexes and backdrops and stuff like that, and really showing off some power. There was also a moment in the match where Stacks attempted to hand, well, he did. He handed Tony D'Angelo brass knuckles, and Tony D'Angelo handed those brass knuckles back because he wanted to do it the right way. So then there was another point in the match where uh, Tony D'Angelo was getting, beat up, and his face was towards the outside, and Ilya Dragunov was above him, and Stacks was looking at him, and Stacks got up on the ring apron, and Tony D'Angelo, you know, just kind of waved him away, told him, go get off the apron, stuff like that. So it looks like Tony D'Angelo, while his character has gone more towards the mafia mob boss kind of darker side, he's still a baby face. And I don't know if that's going to cause tension within the family where, Stacks, if you've watched it for a while, Stacks had a storyline where he was faking that he was trying to take over the family. So maybe that was a, premonition of what was to come later. I don't know. We'll see. But the family played no part in the decision of the match where um, Ilya won. Ilya did a sick H bomb to Tony D'Angelo on the Spanish announce table. Yes, I'm calling it the Spanish announce table because it was the second table that was beside the normal commentary team. So that's the Spanish announce table, and basically obliterated that table. Um, Again, Ilya couldn't do a lot of his other moves as he was selling that hand injury, but he was able to capture and retain the title as he did a super H bomb to Tony D'Angelo from the top rope, which looked just awful. But it's Ilya Dragunov. The dude just goes at 120 miles per hour when he wrestles all the time, and just looks like he gives the worst chops and suplexes. So I'm really wanting, I know what the reports were from earlier this week, but I really want to see Ilya Dragunov on the main roster and facing Gunter for something to main event somewhere, because that would be a really good match between the two of them where they would just beat the holy hell out of each other for our enjoyment, and it will be great. But Ilya Dragunov retains, so only one title changed hands during this show, and that was the NXT Women's Championship. But we do have a women's mid card belt on the way. Um, right before the main event, we had a hype promo or a hype package for Javon Evans, who, if you watch Level Up, and let me be honest, I don't. If you watch Level Up, he's on Level Up, and he's been one of the highlights of Level Up. I have seen some highlights about it, and he's one of the names that they continually talk about for Level Up. And yeah, he's a future star, and he's did a hype package for his NXT proper debut on Tuesday. So it looks like somebody else that they're hyping up to be another star. He's a high flyer. Um, I wasn't a big fan of the hype package because he seemed kind of, I don't know, just quirky and stuff like that. But we'll see. Speak his work will speak more than what he can, and I know it's NXT and it's developmental, so that's why they're there. That's what they're working on. So you had that, and then there was the segment in ring with Metaphor as they announced that they had broken an NXT attendance record with 16,545 in attendance for the Stand and Deliver show. I don't know if those numbers are inflated because you know what WWE and any other promotion does with their with their numbers. So maybe it was less than that, maybe it was right around there, but they are celebrating a attendance record for that. So that leads us into the main event of the show, which was the, I guess you would call it, grudge match between Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Um, the announce team or commentary team put over that this is the first time that two black men main evented a show, which that's awesome to see that two black men get that kind of shine. So regardless of how you feel about either one of them or anything like that, that was great to see that they kind of put that on the pedestal that two black men were main eventing. Um, Shout out to Carmelo Hayes as he was cosplaying Killmonger, which in his case, he doesn't really have that Killmonger characteristic. Where Killmonger, you know, if you watch Black Panther, Killmonger was a villain who really wasn't a villain, but Carmelo Hayes is just a villain at this point. Like he lied and he's trying to take the shine from Trick Williams as Trick has kind of gone up in uh, favoritism from the crowd and getting better as far as his in ring ability. But Trick Williams, that kind of did a boxing slash MMA style entrance with him, following him from the backstage area, and he had on a robe and everything with the hoodie on, and then of course his music hit and the crowd erupted. Like this man is super over with the NXT crowd, and from what I seen with when he was on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago or about a month ago, he's got the main roster crowd too because they were yelling, you know, chanting "Whoop that trick." Which, please, if you're watching this and you're not from Tennessee or you're not familiar with Memphis, understand the "Whoop that trick" chant is not an original chant from NXT. It is directly from Memphis, and the crowds that go to the Grizzly games, they chant "Whoop that trick," which is from the movie Hustle and Flow with Terrence Howard that was depicted in Memphis. So don't get it twisted, y'all. Don't think that it's oh, why is Memphis Grizzlies? Why are they chanting for Trick Williams? Yo, it's something that's been there for a while. It's nothing new. Please stop acting ignorant. But Trick, I mean, this match really wasn't the greatest of technical matches, and it wasn't very long, but it did what it needed to do as far as kind of putting a pin in the storyline or just kind of capping off the end of the storyline between Trick and Carmelo. I don't know if the resulting of this match would be Carmelo going to the main roster full time, or if this means that now Trick Williams can go ahead and ascend to the World Championship, the NXT World Championship, that is, and attain that. I don't know, but again, this match did what it needed to do. Um, Carmelo Hayes was selling his butt off for Trick Williams. And the pacing, because you remember I talked about the pacing in the beginning, the pace was a lot slower than what it was at the beginning of the show, where, you know, it was fast paced, fast, fast, fast. This was a little bit more slow and deliberate in pacing. But don't get me wrong, it you know, it had what it needed to have in it. But there was a moment in the match And referees in wrestling are paper thin, and the referee got inadvertently crushed by Trick Williams and taken out. And at this time, Carmelo grabs a chair, comes into the ring with a chair, tries to use it, but he's playing tug of war with it with Trick. Trick then uses the chair, but then as he's about to use it for like a fourth or fifth time, the referee comes to magically, grabs the chair, and Carmelo capitalizes by kicking Trick right in the penis. I like saying that. It just kick right to the dick. And, you know, couldn't capitalize more on that. But then the same referee takes a Trick knee and goes out of the ring. Or it was a flying knee. I can't remember who hit the knee, but he took a knee and went flying out of the ring. Um, Carmelo tried to capitalize by hitting nothing but net, which brought in another referee. Again, wrestling, please be consistent. If you're going to have someone, a referee, get knocked out and you send the referee once, do it all the time. Don't have a referee get knocked out and then no one shows up because that referee was already to the ring like maybe 5 seconds after the first one got kneed and kicked out of the ring. So please be consistent, wrestling, please. But nothing but net gets a two. So Carmelo tries to go and get another chair. The referee prevents him from using the chair. That gives enough distraction for Trick Williams to do his trick knee, hit Carmelo, one, two, three. Kind of anticlimactic because I thought there would probably be some more, and there was like 15 minutes left before the top of the hour. So I wasn't sure if they were had didn't have an idea of what the runtime was at that point, but it seemed like there should have been more, but there wasn't. But the conclusion came and did what it needed to do to end that rivalry, and so that both men can go move on if that's what they're trying to do. Whether, like I said, if it's the NXT Championship or the main roster or whatever the next step is for both of them, that has been completed. So that was your pay per view. There was no surprises at the end. I was kind of waiting after the bottom thirds popped up on the screen. I was like, okay, are they going to do some kind of something, a run in, a debut surprise? Nope, that was just it. That was the end of the show. And like I said, so for NXT, if you watch NXT on a regular basis, like their storylines, the promos and stuff like that isn't always just the best. But again, it's developmental, so that's what they're kind of there for. But I felt like it could be better with that. But when they do their PLEs always perform. And this was no different, where, you know, great show. I mean, there's, with the exception of the big house match, that triple threat, there's not really anything that I would really go back and have a pining to watch again. But it's fine because, like I said, it's a developmental promotion, or at least that's how they're labeled from WWE. So they have room to grow. And but I do think, as final thoughts come, giggity, I do think that there are several on their roster that do need to go ahead and move to the main roster. Like right now, I have no idea why some of them are still there. So eh, go ahead and transition a few of them, make your new stars, and continue to cycle that through, so that the main roster can have a little bit more. I know you don't want to overload, and we've seen what overloading with a lot of stars can do and what kind of discourse it can cause. But at the same time, keeping someone in NXT longer than their expiration date for what it needs to do for them in NXT kind of makes that performer stale, and I don't think they want to do that. So, move up who they need to move up, keep who they need to keep. But the show was all right, and I guess it was a good appetizer for what's to come for night one of WrestleMania. So, that's it. That's all I have for that show. Please, guys, continue to support. I know we're not on here as frequently as we used to because life has to life, and we're all busy. We all have some things that's happened, personal things that's happened. Whether it be life, death, illness, work, financial, whatever. We've all had to deal with this because this isn't our primary job doing the YouTube like most people do. This is kind of tertiary as far as what we do on a regular basis. So please give us some grace as far as how much and how often we stream. But we're going to try to put some things out. However, that we're also having kind of an idea to possibly, I know for me, to take a bit of a social media break. I know that for our Instagram channel, which is bros underscore brews underscore and underscore botches, we typically Monday through Sunday we will post results for all the major or most of the major because we don't do TNA, but we do WWE, AEW, and ROH throughout the week, and we'll post those results. We may take a break from that for a little while and then come back to it just so that we can recharge, live life, breathe a little bit. So if you don't see us posting for a little bit, don't worry. We will be back. We'll most definitely be back well before the 3rd year anniversary of the Bros, Brews, and Botches channel, which is we will usually convene around SummerSlam for that celebration because SummerSlam was the first post show that we did, so we kind of use SummerSlam as our anniversary date. So, but we should be back to doing stuff on a regular basis by that time. Not making any promises about any videos. So keep your eyes posted, keep those notifications. Please go ahead and do like what we always say. Check for the Linktree link. Go to the social media pages, Bros, Brews, and Botches, Twitch, if you want to look me up, as you can see down below, I have my Twitter/X, which is Badass Yellow Boy, BADAZZ underscore YELLABOI. Go follow, comment, all that good stuff. Tomorrow, we will probably try to do a post show for both nights 1 and 2. Tonight, I'm going to a watch party, so I will not be able to record. And I believe OHB will be working, and Hogs Wars will be doing Hogs Wars thing. He'll be watching at somewhere as well. So we're not going to be able to do a post show tonight, but we intend on doing one tomorrow. And then also we will do the results on Instagram for the Monday after WrestleMania. And then after that, I think we'll take a break from doing results. But continue to give your support. We do this because we love doing this and we love wrestling. We don't get paid for it. So it's more or less a love of the game situation. So please support that. Please support your wrestling superstars, whether they be in WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, TNA, New Japan, MLW, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, wherever. Support wrestling. Spread positivity, not the negativity. Don't care if you don't like something, at least find something that you like in the promotion that you don't like so you can promote positivity. So please do that. I challenge you to find something good on every show, even if it's a show that you hate. I also challenge you to post in the comments. Like, I'm really intrigued on finding out, like, a lot of folks are wanting the downfall of AEW. So if AEW caves or something like that, what do you think will happen, or why would you want it to cave? Or if you don't want it to cave, why don't you want it to cave? Put those in the comments. Let us know. We want to hear you and such. And, maybe we'll do a bro talk on some of those things. Anyway, I'm going to get off here because I've kept y'all here for approximately 45 minutes. So, not more than I can say for the Stand and Deliver. Good, decent show. If you want to go back and watch it, go back and watch it. I say the one match that you really should go back and watch, if anything, on that show is the triple threat for the North American Championship. Great match. But we'll see what's going to happen the rest of this weekend for WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2. Excuse me. So, otherwise, I have been Yellow Boy. This has been Bros, Brews, and Botches. And until tomorrow, you guys, as always, we love you. Smooch. And until tomorrow, we're out.